Chris used to teach the Old Testament, right? He is really the one who should be talking about tonight's topic. I think he taught the class with Brian, maybe? Anyways, should I make any mistakes, just correct me. By now you should know that I'm not going to give you a history of Judaism. It took 1,000 years for these 47 books to come together. And no one knows who wrote them. But they're good books. I'm only going to share with you some of the books that I enjoy and some of the stories that I enjoy, and then dismiss the rest. I don't know why God created human beings. Genesis is the book of beginnings. It's how everything came to be. One of the problems you encounter in monotheistic traditions is that there is a belief in one single God, and this one single God happens to be most powerful. This God knows everything, can do everything, and is always around. Which reminds me of a story, so let me, as always, digress a little or a lot. A Sufi teacher has about 30 students, but the students come to realize that this teacher really enjoys the company of this one student. He just favors him to everyone else, and they can't really understand. So they grow immensely jealous. And good teachers see things, intuit things. So to educate these jealous students, the teacher looks at all these students, all 30 of them, and says to them, I'm going to, tomorrow when you come here, I'll give you a chicken each, a live chicken, quacking chicken. Your task is to go somewhere and cut off the chicken's head. You just need to make sure that no one sees you. And if you can do this, there's a prize waiting for you. And so the morning comes, all 30 kids are waiting, and the teacher hands each of them a chicken. And they go off, and 2 hours later, 30 of them come back. And the teacher looks at these students, and in the right hand is the body of the chicken, in the left hand, there's the head. And students are really, really proud. And the last student is the guy or the kid that the teacher really likes. And the chicken is alive, quacking and flying and singing. And the students are really, really happy, the other ones. We knew he was an idiot. Surely our master will not reject him. And the teacher looks at this and says, I gave you a commandment. Go to a place and kill the chicken without anyone seeing you. What's the meaning of this? And the student looks at the teacher and says, wherever I went, God was there. I could go no place where God couldn't be found. That's why I couldn't kill the chicken. هو الأول هو الآخر هو الفاني هو الباقي. And so the problem that, again, you will encounter in monotheism is if there is this God that creates everything and is always present, all-knowing and all-powerful, why does he make such a mess of human existence? For those of you who are familiar with the writings of Mark Twain, he once remarked that what kind of a God is this? I have never seen a monkey with a backache. I have never seen a giraffe with a knee ache. Even owls can see better than human beings. How could a good God, who's all-knowing, create such a flimsy entity, a human being? How is it possible? Or if you're familiar with the writings of Arthur Schopenhauer, one of those old, ugly, cranky, bleak philosophers that come out of Germany, he had read the optimistic ideas of Immanuel Kant, and he said, existence has to be a mistake. Whoever gave birth to human beings, created human beings, must be profoundly incompetent. And if you examine life very, very closely, you may come to the same conclusion that life really is a mistake. And maybe that's why people become atheists. Now, the first creation story is that Yahweh creates Adam, me. And in Hebrew, Adam means the earth or dirt. And he's really, really happy with his creation. And one day as he's walking around, he looks at me, and I'm not very happy. In fact, I'm bored. And God feels sorry for me. So he puts me to sleep, takes a rib, transforms it into Sheva, which means life. And this new creature becomes the woman. Go to our conversation last night, the phrase used by Karl Marx, that in capitalism, the only way that you and I can come to life is by drinking and smoking and having sex. It's a system. And you don't even have to really talk about Karl Marx. Life as a tendency of just removing anything and everything that's good about you. It involves you into its own business. It really just devours human intelligence and creativity. So the first wisdom that you should possibly walk away with in the first creation story is this. Adam signifies physical life. And it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter who you are. You will get tired of it. It will bore you. And let me tell you a little bit about physical life, because it is a relationship. It is a relationship that initially is profoundly inspiring and exciting. Brian lives in Iran now. He's going to get his PhD in Persian literature. Diana is going to do her master's. Alexis is doing her master's. Brian is Chris is also doing his second master's. Every single one of you in this class are pursuing something in life, and that's exciting. The problem is excitement in physical life just simply doesn't last. You will find yourself bored in a long time ago, a relationship that was profoundly inspiring and exciting. Now, you may have rejoiced while reading the Gospels, playing music, writing poetry. But as time passes, that inspiration and excitement goes away. They are dead to you. How many times can you watch a movie that inspired you? Maybe if you're lucky, 3-4 times. There is nothing in human life that lasts. Go back to the message of the Buddha. If there is anything you need to know about life, is everything is impermanent. Everything is. And should you find yourself attached to a thing that excites you, disappointment and boredom will be waiting for you. You will be angry at yourself for having spent so much time and energy, having hopes and dreams in things that simply turn into dust. So how does a human being save him or herself in a life that devastates him or her, shows no mercy? Remember the philosophy of Albert Camus, the absurd hero. If there is anything you need to know about life, is the following. Life doesn't care about your hopes, about your dreams, about your pursuits. It is indifferent to your birth, and it is indifferent to your death. You mean nothing to life. Do you have any questions? This is an awful class, and it's your fault. As always, I come to class in a good mood and leave in a negative. Maybe it's just the way Brian looks, I don't know. Now, in the second creation story, God creates Adam and Eve at the same time. And then I think the second story is reserved for very, very mature people who have lived long, reflected long, felt for a long time, been able to observe things. Because Shiva, you can define it as your soul or as your spirit, as something very creative about you. It could also be an entity or a component within you that tempts you. I don't want to be at Laney anymore. In fact, I don't want to be in Oakland anymore. I've been here for about 20 years. I've seen enough. It no longer inspires me. Not the buildings, not the administrators, not the students, knowing how life is here in the Bay Area. And as you have no doubt experienced, I am monotone. I don't get excited. I just give you information and I go home. My job here is not to inspire anyone because there is no inspiration within me left. I am bored of this place. I have become Adam. I embody Adam. I need someone to take a rib and give me a Shiva. I need an Eve in my life. I need inspiration. I need excitement. If you have seen, maybe not these days, because gurus these days or teachers these days are very slim and they look very healthy. But if you go back in time, you will realize that most of the teachers, they were really meaty. They had a good amount of meat on them. And there's a reason. That the only reason why they feel that life is worth living is because of food. It's such an immediate, exciting, inspirational experience. And the fatter you become, the more you can eat, which means the more pleasure that can come your way. If you are married and you have an affair, it's because a good part of you felt like Adam. You wanted to taste coming to life. If you enroll in a class and you find your instructor boring and you drop, it's because you want to come to life. If you keep flipping through your TV channel, it's because you want to find something that will bring you to life. You need to understand the desperate situation that just is told to us in the first couple lines of Genesis. It sucks to be a human being, to have a flesh, and to live in a physical environment, because boredom waits for all of us. Now, there is also a place called the Garden of Eden. In the Garden of Eden, and Adam and Eve walking in the Garden of Eden, it's an environment where no pain has ever been experienced. They don't know what punishment is. They don't know what it means to get caught. They're oblivious. They simply live life. There is no reflection. There is no accountability. There is no growth. Remember the story of the prodigal son? One son stays home, the other goes away and is naughty. Who gains maturity? Not the one who stays with the father. Who can become a teacher to humanity? Not the son who stays home with the father. The oldest son's love for his father is blind. The oldest son simply follows, obeys, respects. He just doesn't know why he loves his father. Doesn't know why he respects his father. And he doesn't need to know. He doesn't reflect as to what love is. But what happens to the second son? He sins. Okay? He's thrown out of the Garden of Eden. He goes out there. He makes a mess of everything. And in messing up, there comes a point he sits, he evaluates, he comes to realize his errors, and he goes back. And in going back, he understands love, respect, honor, what it means to be a father, and what it means to make mistakes. Okay? And these stories just go on and on and on and on. The book of Job, he lives in paradise. He thinks he knows what religion is. He thinks he knows what it means to be faithful. He thinks he knows what it means to be righteous. But he needs to be pushed out of this Garden of Eden. And he commits errors. And then he returns. So, the Garden of Eden, it's a life filled with comfort. Zero reflection. My nephew, he's a really, really, really good kid. His name is Arman. He's a really, really good kid. He's 22, I shouldn't call him a kid. He's 22, NYU, getting his master's. Beautiful. He has never experienced pain. He wakes up in the morning, he goes to the library, and he stays there for 5, 10, 15, 20 hours. He comes to Sacramento or Roseville once every 2, 3 months, once a month. His mother makes him food. He takes 10 suitcases of frozen food to his apartment, stores them there. He lives in the Garden of Eden. His future is to eventually become a dentist, to run his father's business. He knows his future, at least he can predict it. That's the Garden of Eden. He has never been expelled. He has never committed a sin. And every time we call him, Arman, who are you hanging out with? Do they smoke? Do they drink? His roommate is leaving. He's getting a new roommate. His current roommate is Arab. He wants to be a lawyer. In fact, he just got his law degree. He got a job in England. He gets paid about $250,000 a year, English dollars. His new roommate is Persian from Los Angeles. He has a good amount of control over his life. And so when he was exchanging emails with this new kid, he asked, listen, I got to do my schooling. I don't like noise. I don't like drinking. I don't like smoking. If you have a girlfriend, she doesn't need to come here. You need to be very, very clean. I will kick you out, just in case you don't obey my rules. And the kid says, no, I don't do any of that stuff. It's a Garden of Eden. God tells Adam and Eve, listen, do whatever it is that you want. I have given you everything. But there is something out there you should never get close to. And if you do get close, don't ever touch it. And if you do touch it, don't ever bite it. And if you do, don't ever chew it. And if you do, don't swallow it. Imagine you have come from a tradition where arranged marriages are the way of relationships. Your mother was arranged marriage, your grandmother arranged marriage, your great-great-great-great-great-grandfather arranged marriage. Just follow the goddamn tradition. It's been tested and it's proved itself to be relatively healthy, secure. And you go home and you say to your mom, Mom, there's this guy in my class, Charlie. Whenever he speaks in class, something happens to me. I just want to go out and to go to him and say, you want to have a cup of coffee? And all of a sudden, this red light goes off in your mom's head. How old is he? Well, he's 25. Well, you know, honey, boys are trouble. No good. Focus on your schooling. No. But what do you do? Your mom has given you everything you need to survive. Just don't go near this tree. Do not be tempted. You need to understand how temptation works. I think this entire play of existence is a joke played on us. There is something deep within all of us. Call it a serpent. When you read a good book, what happens? I want to write like this. When you listen to someone speak well, what do? I want to speak like that. When you see a beautiful car, what happens to you? I hope to have a car like that. When you see a beautiful house, there is something inside us that desires to beautify life, inwardly as well as outwardly. And what is it that you and I want? Why the hell do you read books? Listen to Nietzsche as he speaks to you from the grave. You read the Bible, not because you enjoy the Bible, not because you want to know what the history of the Bible is. You read the Bible because you covet God's wisdom. You want to be like God. Envy lives inside us. You envy what others have, and you categorize what others have as beautiful, as exciting, as inspiring. But God knew something that Adam and Eve didn't know. You see, the sort of temptations that you and I have in life, they're tiny. So you're married, but you text someone. Okay? Or your mom says, don't drink, but you drink somewhere without her knowing. Or you smoke. Our sins are very, very little. Almost all of you in this class, like the Buddha, you live in a kingdom. You have a palace. It works for you. You have a future, purpose, meaning, direction. And the only thing God demands of us is the following. Remain forgetful, remain in sloth, remain comfortable, and you will have a good life, relatively speaking. Do not ever reflect. Do not be objective.